Russ is my associate. Russ is an architect, and his specialty is 3D design. So we're really fortunate today because instead of just showing you finishes and flat plans, Russ has worked on the corridors three-dimensionally, so it'll give you a better feeling as to what you have, existing, and then some ideas that we're proposing. We have two options today that we're going to propose to you. We have some, we'll see in the first slide, we have some conditions with the ceilings that we're working with. They're fairly low. And we're just going to take you step by step. We're going to go through option 1 first. And we're going to, just take you through. We have some lighting fixtures. And remember, everything is schematic today. This is just ideas.
Everything is schematic, nothing has been decided, nothing
right,
has
been. Right, this is like our first presentation in front of everybody.
These are just some pretty pictures for you to look at.
Yeah, so we'd like, at the end, we'd like your comments, but we're gonna go through the two options, and then I've got finished samples. Maybe we can go through each scheme at the end. And I do have drawings, if anybody, they're to scale drawings, if anybody's interested in looking at those. So. The renderings are kind of difficult to do. You have to actually model the whole building, the whole space, in order to get the three-dimensional. So I think you're really going to enjoy it. It really helps us, and I think it helps everybody else have the vision. So I guess we're going to turn the lights off.
Let's take the lights.
The lights, Bridget.
Yes, having a movie too. Pretty pictures.
So there's your beautiful building. Okay, so option 1. Now our existing ceilings are 7 feet 5 inches high today. In this option, we're going to keep the main ceiling the same height, change out the ceiling tile, put I have a piece of the tile here. It looks like drywall with a really, really narrow grid. So it'll look a lot different than what you have, but we can't put drywall on the entire ceiling. So we're going to use a combination of things to give us some more feeling of height. The thing that I noticed the most when I walked down the corridors was I couldn't see where people's doorways were. You just keep walking and walking and walking. I couldn't really see where the elevator was. So in this design, we try to make it a little bit more wayfinding, with some architectural elements in the hallway, try to break it up. And then we've also done that with the carpet patterns. They changed where the doorways are and where the elevator is. So I think that'll be really helpful, so it won't just seem like one, long, endless tunnel. And I think we worked really hard to try to come up with some different things. Yes?
Over here.
Oh, sorry.
The hallways in the 5680's hallway is much, much different than 5670.
And we have your hallway. We have all the hallways addressed today. So what we did was, you're going to see in our renderings, we did the long corridor, but we also did the 2 side corridors. We addressed those as well. So
When you say side corridors, do you mean
the smaller
the
corridors.
south and north wing, or are you talking about this?
Yes.
South and north, yes.
Okay.
We called the main corridor for this presentation Corridor A, and then the north and south wing B and C.
Okay, thank you.
And B and C are pretty similar to each other. So we're going to stay with the ceiling again, 7 foot high, 7'5" high. We're going to raise it in some areas to 7'8". That's all we can do. That's as high as we can pretty much get there. And then we have some headers, like some drop pieces in the ceiling that come down
1 inch from the
1
ceiling.
inch, 1 inch from the ceiling. See, it'll make more sense when you see it on your way. Okay, next.
Could I request something?
Sure.
Could you turn your blinds the other way?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because.
Is there a glare?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have trouble seeing it too a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
Is that better?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you.
So this is the ceiling conditions, and I'm just going to step over here for a minute. Here's your sprinkler line. Here's your
AC.
HVAC, and in the middle you have your light fixture. So that's what we're working up in the ceiling. We have a small cavity, a little bit over 1 foot up there. So we have to, in our design, we have to keep those things in mind. The
Yes.
first option that we're going to show you, we're not into pricing, or we don't have any of that put together yet. We're just thinking of designs at this point, but the first one that we're gonna show you is a less expensive way to go. I wanted to show you that first.
Yes, as you can see, you only have approximately 3 to 4 inches here, so we can only raise that ceiling 3 inches maximum. So that controlled the entire design. The other option was to come down, but come down so that someone doesn't bump into the ceiling if they're a pretty tall person. So those are the two controlling factors. Up and down. So the first area we're gonna address will be the main entry lobby, which is in this area. You have an elevator and 2 rooms at the side of it, and that lobby area that we're gonna look at. So this is what we're proposing as far as, again, the first the scheme, where when you enter, it defines these 2 pilasters, will define where your elevator is, so you don't have to search for that main entry. And the ceiling, we have included some new lighting fixtures and a wooden soffit. So it gives it some elegance to the entry. And from there, you will be moving left and right to the living areas, which will be your rooms.
Yeah, and we left the existing flooring, which you can see in the rendering. We left the flooring as is, the tile up in that area.
This is the pendant fixture that we have chosen. We have other options to show you, but this is what we believe to be the most elegant option. So we will put it.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
Sure.
What is on either side of the elevator? What am I seeing there?
These are called pilasters. They are build-outs where you apply a wooden finish to give it some sort of definition, elegance, and tie into the ceiling finish. So it will be cladded in wood. It will just be a sheetrock build-out. It looks like a column, but it's a flat column, and we apply a wooden finish to it.
I have a
Another
question
question?
also.
Yes.
Sure.
Currently, I believe those elevator doors are a faux wood
Yes.
type thing. And will that change to a brushed aluminum, or would it match those pilasters, or?
That's a good question.
It's a good question.
I don't think we got that far yet, but
Yes.
That could be done. I've actually had it done where you
You
put
like
a
you
sheet of
reskin it?
brushed
Yes.
aluminum.
Yes, you can put a brush in.
it would be nice if we could do that to kind of update it.
And it will work with the pilasters, because what we have done with the pilasters is that the same base that's on the wall itself wraps around the pilaster, but at the top of the pilaster, it will be a stainless steel or brushed aluminum finish. So it does complement what we can do with the elevator doors.
And you're gonna see a little bit of the metal throughout
Yes,
our
like a
design
highlight.
with some of the wood as well, so.
The second area to be addressed will be when you get off that main lobby. To the left and to the right, it's symmetrical, so it's the same design. But this, as you will see, gives you some indication as to direction where you head to, because you may get lost when you get off, you don't know where to go, or if you're going to somebody's apartment. So this gives you some sort of direction as to where.
Yeah, and I wanted to add too, part of this package is we'd like to do some directional signage.
Signage.
Some, you know, whatever, maybe in a nice metal and wood finish type of thing, like maybe, you know, apartments or condos or rooms, whatever, down this hallway, or, you know, that type of thing, just, because there's really nothing now. So
Yeah,
we
you thought
thought
something
just-
like you see in a hotel that tells you.
Right,
that-
just
yeah.
a few placed
Directional signage.
strategically throughout the space.
Again, so you come off the lobby, and the first thing you will see again would be these 2 pilasters, which tells you this is the area that you'll be focusing on to go to your apartments. And this soffit here is raised again to mimic what happens in the lobby. And you have 2 lights, so it gives you directional lighting toward the main hallway or aisle.
Can you talk about the square lights in the ceiling?
Yes, we have introduced some square lights, and it gives contrast to the circular round soffit lights. But it's a feature which is unusual, but it gives you the same lighting levels as you would get with a traditional recessed downlight. It's just a design element that, you know, we've introduced, because you would see most of the pilasters and soffits are rectilinear. So it gives some credence to using.
We use the squares in this scheme, kind of like down the corridors, and then the little pin lights are up in the wood areas.
So
So we have like two
you get a
two
slight
different-
contrast.
Yeah, so,
So the pin lights, for those people who are not familiar with them, they're much smaller can light than we have now. So
more of
it's-
a, like a little
so it's-
sparkly
You're not looking at a
downlight.
big hole in the ceiling, but it gives the same light.
Gives the same light. And it's LED fixtures, so all LED fixtures reduce on your lighting loads, and it still gives you that same brightness that you would get from your usual.
So we want to do all the light fixtures with the same color rendering, so everything's, 'cause right now, there's a lot of different bulb replacements and different types of bulbs, and so we want to get that all consistent with the same, you know, lighting, so it looks really nice.
Yes, sir.
Did, in your considerations for lighting, are we avoiding the,
That's an excellent thing, and I think some of the material choices are very.
Bring the ceilings up in that whole space.
Wherever you have an entry to the apartments, we will have a feature there, so it defines your apartment. So walking down that hallway, you'll say, oh, my apartment is just ahead, and somebody's apartment is just a little further. So it defines for you where you are entering your spaces, instead of just this long hallway that you have no idea how far you have to walk to get to your.
And the highlighted black marks
Yes.
on the walls are the bump outs.
Those are the pilasters that you will see,
Right.
yes,
How much higher?
4 inches.
Like, yeah, that's what we
Yes,
talked
like
about.
what you
Right
said.
in the beginning. Yeah, let's try to go through the visuals and then maybe ask us some more
So
questions,
there
but we'd
you
like
go.
to show you.
So that's what, that bump out, as you said, or pilaster will be like this. So you will have that little soffit with a pin light in it that breaks up the length of the space, or else it will look like just one long hallway. So it gives you some movement, something to look at while you're traversing that space.
Russ, you want to point out the person, where the person's standing, that's a doorway.
Where the person is standing, you will see that darker element again, and that tells you where your unit will be, or the entry to your unit. So we will come upon that next. So the presentation was designed to take you through step by step as you will see it. So again, this is where we have somebody's unit on either side with this angled entry. And that would look like this. So that defines for you that we have entry units, or units to entries at this space. So as you can see, you still see down the hallway, you see another pair of pilasters and another soffit here, so it tells you that somebody's unit will be at that space. We also put light, maximize light in this area because it creates pools of light. So you would know, oh, that pool of light is my unit. It also provides a measure of security also. So you know when you have to get your keys out and stuff like that, you have lights to be able to see where you're entering your space.
Are you changing the walls?
No, we're not.
Yeah.
Website.
So this is your exterior. It's not that we did not give it any consideration, but
To be honest, I don't think your interior fits the exterior at all.
No, I don't
No,
know.
it doesn't.
Right now.
but still you get that wooden, elegant feel within the.
Looks like a young Bob Milligan.
Ah, What?
Why don't we get Pat and Bob sitting down before we go on?
Okay.
They're afraid they're too.
Yeah, there's a couple seats over here, guys, you want to
Yeah,
come
you can
in?
probably see better.
People scoot over.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
There's some right here. Thank you.
Oh,
I'm good.
okay. So the next slide addresses the area of the elevator and stairwell, because again, in the event of a fire or some emergency, you want to have some idea how far away from that egress point. You will have egress signage or exit lighting, but still you want to know how far you are away. So we created an element which tells you this is where it will be from a distance. So this is what it would look like as you approach it. We have these pilasters, almost like a doorway, which tells you when you go through this area, your stair, your elevators are within this little pod. The ceiling also gives you a layout of the entry to the elevator here, and your stairwell is right here. So that's another view of it. You can see the elevator there, and it gives you that little elevator pod, which you know that's where everything will be happening.
Do you want to just talk about that plaster, the trim at the top?
Yes. Now, this is where you get to see again that stainless or brush finish on the elevator. So we have included a little stainless trim at the top of each pilaster. And your sconces will have that little trim in them, so you get that consistent feel, uniform feel that ties the design together.
Now, my only concern in this area is the carts coming out of the elevator and banging into.
Okay, good. So what we have thought about, seeing that you may have some cards in there or on there, we can do a few things. We can either break the edges of the wood at a 45-degree angle,
Like a miter.
like a miter. So even if you run a card around it, it doesn't damage it that much. Or we can do a metal edge to ensure that it does take
Just
that.
by the elevator.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that might be the way to go.
Yeah. So we could do that same 45 and put a metal strip in there so that prevents much damage.
Yeah, that would allow us to trade them out easily as they get scratched, which
Yes,
they
ma'am.
inevitably will.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the wood can also be, filled and sanded if there's an issue with that too, so. Hopefully there's not, and the base will block some of it too, take some of the abuse as well, so.
Again, we will have the sheetrock ceiling here, which bumps into that,
Acoustical tile.
acoustical tile, yes, which bumps into the sheetrock or gypsum ceiling, and then you would have that wooden trim.
It's simple, but I think it's effective.
And the last area on this hallway A will be the very end hallway unit, seeing that is slightly different to those others. So we had to do a different application, which is slightly different again, but still using the same concept of pulling that up into that 4-inch space. So you have a 4-inch, which is the last unit. You have this unit to the left to the right. But again, you have the ceiling here with the square lights, and then your pilasters that tell you that you're going back down that hall. Yes, sir.
The lighting in the ceiling.
Yes, sir.
They're gonna be all square lights?
No. The lighting in the ceiling, as far as the runs between the pilasters, yes, you will have those little square recess lights. But wherever you have these wooden recesses, you will have the circular pins, little pin lights, which will give you enough lighting, but still we have included these two wall sconces to give you
So there's no fixtures in the ceiling, no lighting fixtures coming down?
nothing.
No,
will
you
come
don't
down.
really have the space.
They're flush with the ceiling.
We can do that in the lobby, but we just don't have room to do it. And take
Type lighting we were proposing, these are examples of
What we
the
talked
square
about.
ones. They are on the inside, and these are the standard circular. But everything will be LED, so it minimizes
energy.
And you will have different type trims, so you'll have the whites, you can have the black. Again, this is all, and some that disappear totally. But these are just options that we're providing, so you can get a feel of what you like and what you may choose to go with.
And I noticed all of these are gonna be LED, right? To
Yes,
cut
ma'am.
down on our electric bill.
Yes, ma'am. These again are 3 different options for the wall sconces. One a square one a short, and more stubby looking one, and that elegant slimline
You can see which one Russ likes.
Yeah, exactly. By the description.
Yeah, I know.
Elegant, slimline.
Elegant, very elegant.
No prejudice.
None at all. In your entryway, your main entryway in that lobby, we have two options. This was the one that was shown in the rendering. This is the second option, again. Floor finishes.
Okay, so I have 3 different carpet options to show you, some ideas. The first one, I'm gonna call that the geometric option, and that's the one that's closest to Russ there. You can actually, they're paper samples, but they're digitally reproduced, so they look exactly like the carpet. But near the doorways, that would have the pattern. It would have the blue and the lighter carpet. The field carpet would be going down the hall. So in addition to having the wood in the ceiling, you know, delineating the entries, you're also gonna have carpet, and that was our idea to use both top and bottom.
Top and bottom, so you can get to see the full
Yeah,
view.
and that's a top view.
Yeah, I guess it's got blue in it.
Yeah, it's got, I thought the blue that I picked is sort of like this color of the sea, and I thought that was nice. I have that in a couple of the patterns that I selected. Okay, so the next one, I call this the leaves, and that's this pattern here. At the doorways, we have, it's sort of like a warm gray leaf, and then we have a field carpet that blends into it. And so that pattern's here. It's kind of muted grays and.
Is everything we're looking at carpet tiles?
Yes, everything is
Yeah.
carpet tile. Those are squares and these are planks, but they're all carpet tiles. They have a padding on the back that comes with the carpet tile. They're wonderful, so you don't have to have padding. If one of the pieces gets stained or you have a problem, you just pop it out. You can clean it. I mean, you can steam clean them, but for some reason, if something got on it, they can be replaced, which is great. And they're solution dyed, so like if a bleach solution, somebody was cleaning something, whatever got on it, it will not take the color out of this material. So it's commercial grade, but hospitality patterned. So it kind of looks like broadloom, but I think it's a lot better product, and if you're happy with it. So the third option looks like a rug at the doorways. Are we in the? Okay. So
Said the same thing.
no, now this is this pattern over here, and that one's probably a little bit more traditional pattern, and haven't decided yet whether we'll have it, graduate to one of the doors, or we might just have it across the hallway. And then the field carpet is the plainer carpet that goes down the hallway. But it's really beautiful. It's got like a cerulean blue and a brown.
What material are you looking at, please?
For the carpet,
Yeah.
it's nylon. Like a 6/6 knot too.
So
Okay.
this is the before and after of that north and south hallways, where currently you have this protrusion. We have decided that's an element which creates a visual,
Really breaking up.
Obstruction.
yeah, it's an obstruction. So we have flattened that ceiling and tucked this on the inside so we can put those.
Well, you've
lines.
broken it up, which is nice.
And also, I think the
Yes.
use of the sunshades in order to
Yes.
allow more or less light to come through is excellent.
Yes.
And you can
Yes,
still
yes.
see out, and also that rendition has one of the carpets in it, that
One
pattern
of the
up
style
here.
patterns
So
that
you
we
can
have.
kind of see it's, to me, that's transitional. It could go any,
And we have created the two pilasters, which defines where your doorway is as opposed to your windows.
The carpet makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Nice. Finally, this is what you have currently as a hallway. You can't tell where your unit might be. We have created this so you can see each hallway is defined by light and an architectural feature. So it tells you. Again, if we wanted to, not to bring it up again, but we can also put back in chair rails and stuff to make it, again, Mediterranean. It could be, even Chinese, we can do, but that's totally dependent on what you would like. I'm serious.
Yeah.
It's how you want to live, not how we want you to live.
Mhm.
It's not our intention to impose anything on you. So I'll take you to the second presentation, which gives you another option to show you how stylized we can become slightly different. But this now takes the ceiling down totally.
Have you done any work here?
You get to choose. Styles, I can take a very classical style and add the most contemporary piece to it and still
Yes.
keep it looking classical. That does not change, because if you go back to the Victorian era, the British Victorian and the American Victorian were two different things, but they were
Yeah,
still
but
called
this, the
Victorian.
Victoria is not a Victorian style.
It's
unit.
not.
It
It's-
happens to be a Mediterranean style.
Right.
You either find it in Spain or in Italy.
Great, and if you,
And this
again,
would, it just, this, is- to me, this is something that's a really industrial type of material.
well, I can take you to
Oh,
the,
yeah.
I'll switch you back to the original slide, the very first slide, and you would call that Mediterranean. But that is faux Mediterranean, that is not true Mediterranean. It all depends on what you're doing. That was stylized, it was a stylized form of Mediterranean. I can show you elements in the front of the building, which is no true Mediterranean style. But it depends on you how far into that style you would choose to go. If you give us direction to say, we want only Mediterranean, we can take this.
I think you want something that's kind of complemented. It doesn't have to be totally Mediterranean, but it has to complement the style of the building itself.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure this does.
We have kept the basis. If this were a pure industrial style, we would have put steel bases.
No, it's not, I'm not saying it's pure, but it is an industrial style, whether it's pure or not.
Yes,
You know,
Let me ask a
More
question.
modern, contemporary.
It is contemporary because we have kept the pilasters, which is,
well, that just because you keep pilasters doesn't mean you're retaining the look of by changing the lights and everything else and putting brushed stainless steel in it. That does not keep it in Mediterranean style, I'm sorry. I've been to Europe too many times and
like myself, what I would say to you is,
Mhm.
we've used stainless steel accents. We have not introduced stainless steel as a major element. We've used wood.
listen, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings.
Oh, no, no,
This-
no,
this
no,
would-
no, please.
This would be very nice in a 20-story high-rise, you know, brand new 20-story high-rise. But when you're dealing with a building that's styled after possibly an Italian or Spanish villa, it doesn't really work too well.
Russ, can we continue?
You have to,
I don't wanna get into
Let's
it.
move on.
Party guys?
We did it before and after so you can see what you currently have as opposed to what we're proposing. So, on the left is what you currently have, on the right is what we have proposed, so you can see it
Side by side.
side, and not just an abstract concept.
Well, one thing I noticed is there's an exit sign and there's no exit sign. How
You have to
do
have an exit sign.
I was gonna say.
Yes, it'll still be there.
Yes, but again, the
Remember, it's a
option-
rendering, you
Yes.
know,
I'm
we
teasing.
don't take the time to
And
put
we
every
have,
single thing.
we now have updated signage that it's almost like clear glass, so it's not that obtrusive. as
That
the
would be
original.
wonderful.
Yes.
And the other question, are you intending to do anything to the doors on each floor in the 5680 wing? They're very commercial looking doors at this point out to the balconies.
Elevators?
The-
Or the
Front
those
doors.
slider doors?
Across from the elevator.
Across
They're
from the
entry
elevator.
doors.
Are they
Entry
Back
door.
next door.
These.
Yeah, no.
No,
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 the
the
entry door.
Oh, the entry
Front
door,
door.
these.
Yeah, the glass
Oh,
doors.
whoa.
They're showing the
I'm not sure that was,
That wasn't
And
part
that
of
was
our
not part of the
program.
scope.
Okay, great, just wanted to ask.
yes. I mean, it can be, but you just have to.
They are a
deeper.
different color on the second floor from the first floor.
Correct.
Yes.
But I think if you go with that design, go with, it doesn't matter, I think it would go with any trim or,
Yes.
you know.
How would the furniture that we have in the wing fit into the new style? Or not at all?
Not at all.
Um,
Not at all.
I don't think it will complement it. You can, because there are certain types of design called eclectic design where you have traditional pieces within a contemporary environment. But that will have to be a design decision that we'll have to do an inventory of what you have, decide what you want to keep, and then we'll have to work that into the overall design. I'm not sure, again, that covers, or is pieces, it would color slightly differently, so you would not get the same color match as previously.
Wouldn't get the same dialogue.
I thought all these patterns are nice, they have a residential feel, without being so personalized that they wouldn't appeal to, a large group of people, and I tried to pick things, I thought they were timeless,
So-
patterns too,
So if you take a commercial grade for maintenance and put a residential feel to it, that's what this does.
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Right, so when you take pieces and you
Yes.
lay them, if they're 2-foot squares, for instance, and they lay next to each other, what natural question would be, how do you get them not to fray,
Okay.
and how do you get them matching up? And
Okay, well, what you do is you lay them down, it's with releasable glue, it's called, and they butt right next to each other, they're made to do that, they're not gonna fray. There's not gonna be like a seam that you can even see. That picture, I mean, you can't see the seams in there, you see the pattern, but they're made to butt completely together.
They're made to brush off. so
Like
they
broadloom
touch together.
has like a jute backing, and that's why sometimes when a thread gets pulled out of it, it goes down the line, the same hardware. So whatever metal finishes we have in the corridor, and we were thinking about something,
Proposing
nice,
something like
a
this.
lever, modern, and sort of contemporary looking. We have lots of different options. The
And these
door-
are all ADA compliant because they're
Correct.
levers,
Yes,
correct?
The utility doors have these big closer things on them. Some are rusted, some are painted, so we don't know if you want to go as far as replacing doors or anything. Maybe the utility doors and then all the hardware, so all the hardware, even those doors. And then we put some signage on the doors, what they are, like, electric room or whatever, so we know, just consistency throughout.
Doors and the hardware, are the responsibility of the owner, correct? Not the association?
That's not to ask me, I don't know. We're just making a suggestion that the hardware does get changed out. Pick one, one particular hardware, and then all the doorways have the same hardware.
Our
I don't know.
proposed ceilings will be 4 inches higher because that's the max we can go. And the proposed areas of definition are slightly lower, 275 where you currently have them.
This is the more aggressive
This is the more aggressive
option,
design.
as far as the ceiling's concerned.
Yes.
Because it'd be raising the
The
ceiling.
entire ceiling up, so
More
the entire
expensive?
ceiling would be
Yes.
just over here, yes.
What were you raising it to? 7'9"?
7'9". 4 inches
Four
high.
inches.
Yes. Again, the first area we tackled was that entry hallway or foyer or lobby. Again, we have the pilasters, but this time we've used the wood on the exterior, and the soffit is sheet rock or gypsum, and put those lighting fixtures again. Second area, instead of going up over the pilasters, we came down. Again, between the pilasters and the hallway, we have come down with that wood, which is walnut. In the angled ones, we have come down. Again, this is the more rectilinear entryways.
You have a color here?
Sorry, ma'am?
Yellow?
No, I know you're getting a little yellow feed here, but it's really walnut. I think the wash from the light fixture, because when you're doing three-dimensional renderings, we actually put light fixtures in, and it gives you the actual light foot candle reading. So whatever you see here is what it will look like. So
Not the
apparently-
color of it, but.
Not the color, but there's,
Maybe.
the fact that we put a light fixture so close, it will wash the wood in such a way it gets a lighter look and feel to it.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
The difference between this visual and the previous concept,
Yes.
the defining points were on the wall, and these are on the ceiling?
No, it's this very same concept, but instead of having this is down, where the one before was, this was pushed up.
You don't have anything on the walls here.
On the walls, we still have the sconces,
And
the
the
pilasters are still on the hallways.
We didn't get there yet.
You would haven't got, so you would
Yeah.
see. Again, this is where it is,
I see,
the pilasters, but then this just comes down
I see.
instead of being up.
Now, in the rendering, the wood has a really high sheen to it,
Yes.
which can make it look a little more
So
contemporary.
you will leave that paneling on the wall, like
Yes, sir.
the gentleman said?
Yes, sir. Again, sorry.
Let me finish if I could. The wood shows very shiny there. We have some different color woods here and with more like, you know, we could do a matte finish. So that's just something to keep in mind. These are just schematic. So, but that does make it look a little bit more contemporary.
Yeah, and that, again, if you wanted that sleek look, you would have a high gloss finish, whereas if you wore a muted
Rustic.
tone would be, yes, it'd be a little more rustic in nature. So, again, those are all things you can discuss. Again, this is the elevator, so this one comes down. Again, where we had that up, again, the end units, so these come down also. Down. So it's basically the same thing, it's just a slightly different.
Higher ceiling overall.
Yes, this is the same concept, except that instead of the sheet rock, we put in wood trim finish there to keep in the same style as the rest.
And these are the same.
The rest are the same, basically. And if we were to do the before and afters on this one, again, you could see. And this is even more contemporary than the one before. So that's what I'm saying, by just doing one thing, you could create a whole different illusion, but you would guide us as to what look you would like to have.
Since your example of comparison of option 1 to 2,
Yes.
basically all you've done is you've extended the look of option 1 4 inches higher into option 2. The biggest difference is all the additional wood paneling in that the rise of height gives you with all this additional wood
Yes.
in the entries.
Yes.
The logical question is, can we stick with the existing option 1 ceilings in the hallways and go with the higher ceiling in the entries?
The option 1 gives you your current 7'5" inches.
Yes.
And just in those areas, you go 4 inches higher over your entryways. But option 2 takes you already up. So you can't go any higher, you have to come down.
So my question is, can you
Yes.
do that just in the entries and not in the hallways? Because
Yeah,
I didn't
because
see
it's
much
dry-
difference.
it's drywall. You could
That
make
doesn't
it-
convey much perceptive difference in height in the hallways. But there's a chance for you to really demonstrate the difference of what it can do, and that's what you've done there.
Yes.
It actually does, Orin, because when you're looking at a long, narrow hallway and 4-inch indentation gives you a lot.
Yeah.
It
well,
does break it up.
Yep. It doesn't,
But
it doesn't,
yes,
it's hard to convey.
But yes, to
that.
answer
Right.
your question, we could do option 1
And-
and option 2 for the lobby.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What's the difference between option 1 and option 2? I know option 2, you said, is a little more expensive, but
It's more aggressive with respect to the utilities in the ceiling. You'd be
Higher-
moving a whole lot
higher
more
gen-
utilities.
The general ceilings are higher in option 2. So that means
7'5"
taking
in
out
option 1,
sprinklers and
7'9"
moving
in
air
option
conditioning
2.
up.
so you're gonna go up into the ceiling.
Yes.
4 inches.
4 inches. 4 inches.
So that would not be a slight increase, that would be a pretty big increase.
That one would be a big increase.
Right, okay.
But we're giving you options to
We
see.
showed you option 1 first, that's what,
Yeah.
you know, and then, so the doors,
Where's the door?
Right,
There's
that's
a
a
door
left,
right
that's
here.
a north.
There's a door right here, as you can see, there's a door here. There's a door back,
That's
I
the main
believe,
door.
back here. And then you have the elevator.
You're talking first floor, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes.
I think that's the north side.
That's in North Wing.
Yeah,
Yeah, what's that?
right, it's in North Wing.
Corridors, we call them corridors B and C, which is the north and southwestern hallways. So this bubble tells us that we are looking at the elevator again. We created a feature which is the accent, you know, that is where the elevator is, that is where your stairwell is. So it will look like this again. So you have a pilaster which tells you it's happening there, and you have that ceiling which again highlights that opening. Last but not least, the hallway itself, where you have those windows and a pair of doors. We have treated it where you have the sheetrock, a hard sheetrock ceiling. Currently you have a build out, something built out, which comes down into the ceiling, which again visually creates an obstruction. So we pulled that up and created a drapery pocket so that you can have some shades in there to, when it's bright sunshine, you can always drop those shades to minimize the amount of heat load or heat distribution within that hallway and control some of the lighting.
Even over the doorway.
Even over the doorway.
Oh,
Got a little
little
pocket
thing.
here over the doorway also, so you
Roll
can
them up.
pull that down too.
You can still see out through these shades. We're thinking like architectural shades.
From those that are still not here, that would have liked to have had the presentation, heard the presentation, and has said, you know, that maybe we can do it again. But I'll talk to Joe. We're going to cover that when we get down to the hallway renovation phase. So we'll go ahead and start the meeting. The October 17th, 2017 Board of Directors meeting will please come to order. Board members present are Donna Wickstrand, President, Joe Gavin, Vice President, Lace Milligan, Secretary, and Woody Treasurer, Jeff Sassy, Director. Representing AR Choice are Christine Brown, Manager, and Bridget Hubmurray, Administrative Assistant. We also welcome resident attendees. And if you recently returned to the Victoria, we welcome you back and hope that you've had a wonderful summer. Reminder, if an owner wishes to address the board during the meeting, please state your name and speak loudly so all can hear. The meeting notice was posted in excess of the required 40 to 80 hours. A quorum of the board is present. The Secretary's report.
I had one change in the minutes of the last meeting before they can be approved. It was section 11, under shutters. It said that it said a motion